If you're serious with PC gaming, a Hall effect keyboard is an absolute must. And luckily, NuPhy's recently entered the game with their magnetic update of their Field 75 mechanical gaming keyboard. So let's see how this keyboard gets on in some gaming, and a bit of a spoiler, it's pretty good. But a full disclosure before I get into this video, NuPhy did send out this Field 75 HE for review today. They didn't pay me, and they don't get to preview the video before it's posted. However, you can find it linked in the description if you want to pick one up. So let's see how it gets on. There's a reason why Hall effect is so well hyped, for a lack of a better word, in recent years, and that is because it's basically revolutionised the way keystrokes are registered. Because unlike a regular mechanical switch which has a set actuation point, Hall effect keyboards uses magnets to actuate a keystroke. And what this means is you can basically change the actuation point to basically anything you want, within reason, of course. So the customizability with Hall effect is way better than a regular mechanical keyboard. And just as important as the customization with the actuation distances is newer features like rapid trigger. And what this allows for is basically a much more responsive gaming keyboard, because on the upstroke or up on the keystroke or whatever you want to call it, it allows a key to instantly reset. And what this translates to is a much more precise and responsive gaming experience. And after using rapid trigger and going back to like a regular mechanical keyboard, it is kind of rough. So this is why Hall effect is a big deal right now. Like I said, Hall effect and rapid trigger translates to an excellent gaming experience. I spent most of my time with the Field 75 HE playing Battlefield 4, as I've been trying to get to max level in that game. It does take a while, even though I'm like 5 levels from it. It's like a ridiculous amount of XP to level up, but back to the Field 75, it certainly hasn't hindered me in my task with doing that, because it hasn't let me down in any gunfight, and there hasn't been any weird sort of like misclicks or anything like that, apart from me leaning on the spacebar a bit too heavily. But thanks to it being a Hall effect keyboard, I've changed the actuation distance on that to stop it, but more on the customization in a bit. But what I can say is the Field 75 HE certainly hasn't let me down in any gunfight, but the same can't be said for my skill or lack thereof. It's almost as if a really good gaming keyboard doesn't bridge that skill gap, but it can get you closer, I suppose. And rapid trigger is working very well, making my inputs very responsive. And yeah, as I've said, after using rapid trigger, I cannot really go back to a regular mechanical keyboard for first-person shooters. Unlike the Wooting 60 HE Plus, which is a 60% keyboard, the Field 75 is, well, it's 75%, it's in the name, and this means it's got the F-row. So if you're playing games which require the F-row, or you just like to use it, like me with Minecraft and even Age of Empires 4, I don't need to switch keyboards or use macros or anything like that, as the F keys are there physically on the keyboard. So big win for this one. Also, NuPhy have told me they're working on a competitor to Wooting's SOCD and Razer's SnapTap, but do be aware, particularly in Counter-Strike 2 now, this is considered to be cheating, and it is a kickable offence. Whether or not you can get banned for it yet, I'm not too sure. I'll have to put something on the screen to say otherwise, or whatever, if you'll get banned or not. But because of this, I'd recommend disabling this if it is a potential feature on this keyboard, because I wouldn't run it now if it's bannable in Counter-Strike, because most other games are going to follow suit. Looping back to the customization aspect, which I went over at the start of the video, you don't even need to install software for it. NuPhy have developed their web utility, like Wooting's utility, called NuPhy.io, and here you can change basically every single aspect of the keyboard. And in terms of the stuff that you can change, the list of what you can't is shorter than what you can change. So yeah, it's quite a powerful web utility. Arguably the most important one is the actuation. You can change the actuation point on each key individually, or you can change it for all of them. Like my Wooting 60 HE Plus, I have my WASD on 0.7mm, as I want them to be as responsive as possible, but the keys around it, I don't want these to be mispressed or anything like that. So I have them set to around 1.5 millimeters. This just avoids me accidentally throwing like grenades and stuff like that. And also with the spacebar, I've set that to 2 millimeters, as I'm just always resting my thumb on it for some reason, and I'm just jumping like mid gunfight and stuff like that. So I've got that on 0.2 millimeters, which has stopped me from, well, misinputting it, I suppose. And then you've got your rapid trigger. Just like the actuation, this can be enabled and disabled on a per key basis, and for me, I've got it enabled on every single key apart from shift. This is because, for me at least, it does more harm than good being enabled on there, because I'll be like running and I'll slightly go off the shift and then my person will just stop running, so that's very annoying. So I've disabled rapid trigger on there, so thank you NuPhy for allowing me to turn rapid trigger on and off per key. Unlike the Wooting 60HE Plus, there's 8 multimedia keys on this keyboard which are fully programmable in NuPhy IO. I have them set to like play and pause and forward and backwards for like your media and stuff like that, but you can basically change them to absolutely anything. And lastly, every gamer's most important feature, RGB can be customized completely through the NuPhy IO software. So if you wanted to get rid of that rainbow wave in your face, flashing, all that sort of rubbish, you can set it to a static color like I have, and that's what I've just left it on because I think that looks best in my opinion. But if you're a big fan of RGB, you can basically customize it to your heart's desire. The Field 75 is a do-it-all keyboard. It's absolutely excellent in gaming, but the productivity performance is still pretty decent. The typing experience out of the box is quite good, and those white magnetic switches, they sound pretty decent as far as magnetic switches go. But if they're not to your liking, they are hot swappable, but do note you can't put a regular 3 or 5 pin mechanical switch in here as it's not compatible at all. But say if you wanted another HE switch, this will take them, so there's no issues there. The 75% layout really helps this keyboard with productivity. I use the F-Row probably not the most with productivity, but one thing I can do is I use the arrow keys quite a lot and like the delete key quite a bit as well. So this is very useful to have, but if you use the F-Row quite a bit, that's there for you as well. And of course you've got the multimedia keys, which can be very powerful if programmed correctly in applications, like even from like Excel to Adobe Premiere Pro for instance. So that's why I think this keyboard is kind of a jack of all trades in a way. And the only thing you're really lacking with this keyboard is the numpad. I never use this, so I'm not really that bothered by missing it, and to be honest, I'd rather save the desk space anyway. So if you're in that camp, this keyboard is totally fine. The only thing it is missing, other than the numpad of course, is wireless connectivity, as it's wired only, but it does have an 8 kHz polling rate, which is somewhat good for gaming. I've watched some videos that 8 kHz really doesn't matter that much, so it's a benefit, but not by that much. Helping me with typing and gaming to a certain extent is the kickstand at the back, because without these, the angle that this keyboard's at is way too flat for my liking, but with these kicked up, it's at a very pleasant angle and I'm really happy with it on this setting. So thank you NuPhy for including these, because without it, I would find it quite hard to use this keyboard. And the Field 75HE probably has the coolest volume rocker I've ever seen on a keyboard. It suits the industrial style perfectly, and if you ever need to change your audio in a moment's notice, you've got that on the left of the keyboard, and it's nice and tactile, so you can probably hear it actually. So if you want an industrial style gaming keyboard which is basically a jack of all trades, as it's excellent in gaming and it's pretty good in productivity as well, the NuPhy Field 75HE is an absolutely excellent keyboard. I'll have it linked in the description below with an affiliate link, and if you use code YAM10 you will get 10% off of your order, so grab a bargain if you want to pick one of these up. With that being said, if you're after some more frames in your games, you can watch a graphics card video up there. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.